Hello, lovely people. I'm Nicola, and this is the Stitches and Slapdashery Sewing and Yarn Room. How are you? I have had quite an active day today. I did a few hours of gardening, not just me. Mr. Stitches and I both went out this morning and did a few hours of gardening. And to say I'm a fair weather gardener would still be overstating it, because I probably do that maybe twice a year. I'd much rather be sitting at my sewing machine as a rule. However, it felt really good to be outside, and the weather was pretty cooperative. It was mix of sun and cloud, a few little spots of rain. I'm going to put the little bit of footage at the beginning of this video, so you'll see that I took a tray out for us around lunchtime with some tea and water, and it did get a little bit mixed with some rain, but that's okay. We needed to hydrate. I couldn't believe how much stuff I got out of the flower bed at the front of my house. And really the only reason that I felt like it needed doing was that I actually looked at it yesterday. A lot of the time, you know, you just take things for granted and you don't even look to see what needs doing around the garden, because if you're like me, you're not really a gardener. But some friends popped in yesterday to pick something up from me, and you know how it is, you're sort of seeing them off at the front door, and they're admiring parts of your garden, and I'm looking at other parts of the garden thinking, oh, look at all the grass and weeds growing out where the hostas are supposed to be. We have hostas coming back up again, and I don't know what the other flowers are called that are in that flower bed, but I looked at it and I thought, that's a bit embarrassing. So I had to do something about it. So I filled a wheelbarrow and trundled it all over to the compost bins about 3 times. And I also went round the rest of the garden having a look to see what else needed weeding. Mr. Stitches was busy chipping up things that had piled up since, well, last Christmas, because the Christmas tree was one of the things he chipped up today. So the place looks a lot neater outside now, which is awesome. And I'm really sore. Every time I reach for something on my right side, it really hurts my shoulder. So what with that, the gardening and the manic crocheting I've been doing, things are getting a little bit sore. But I just can't stop. You know how it is, right? When you're addicted to something, you don't want to stop, even if it hurts a little bit. But the good thing about doing multiple crafts is that if one thing hurts, quite often you can do something else while it heals. So it's not so bad. All right, what have I got to talk to you about today? Well, the rope bowls got finished and have been used. Oops, dropping stuff already, and I'm only just starting. So the rope bowls were finished, that I showed you one of last time. If anything, they're a little bit big because of the size of them, and it's hard really to make them different sizes, because the arm or the body of your sewing machine does sort of restrict you a bit as to what size they come out. But everything rose really well in there. And I did line them with the linen cloth, like I said I would, sprinkled it with flour, put the linen folded over the top while they were in the fridge, and dampened the corners. And so the sourdough seemed really happy, and it tipped out beautifully when I wanted to put it into the baking pans. I don't have fancy baking pans for my sourdough. I do have a Dutch oven, but it's an enameled one. It's not really suitable for heating to 500 degrees. And so I think the issue with this batch of sourdough, too much rye flour, came out like a brick. You could have used my loaves of bread as doorstops. I think I'm going to have to continue to experiment with proportions. And much as I dislike eating too much white flour, I think that really if you want good sourdough bread, it has to have a fairly high percentage of white flour. And I know I said last time, that even if it doesn't come out great, the experiments are always edible. Well, that rye sourdough didn't all get eaten. It was just too heavy, too dense, and I thought, I'm not just going to eat it for the sake of eating it. It didn't cost much to make, so I'm going to put the rest of it in the compost and it can feed the garden instead of me. So the sourdough experiments are ongoing. There hasn't been as much sewing as usual this week. I did make one little thing that came as a result of me going through my scraps. Last time I vlogged, you were watching me cut up lots of little squares. And I have to say, it's kind of nice having it all cut up into little squares. This is the amount of 2-inch squares I had by the time I finished. I did not cut all of it up. I had a handful of 2-inch strips that I left as 2-inch strips because I thought they're more usable like that. And obviously a couple of you agreed because the comments were, life's too short to cut lots of 2-inch squares and sew them together. And I kind of agree with you on that. But the squares look so neat and organized in their little Ziploc bags. So that's how they're living for now, and I will come up with a scrap project for those. This is a little pouch that I made because one of the scraps was a decent size. And I just lined it with the same fabric. And it's not the sort of fabric I would normally have bought myself because I don't drink. But I did make a project for, I actually have the bag somewhere. I'll see if I can find the bag. Hold on. Okay, I found it. This is a project that I made when I was working at the fabric store, and it was one of their DIYs of the month. It's a 2-sectioned little tote, and it's supposed to be a wine bottle holder, but to be honest, I think that these little compartments are probably too small for wine bottles. So all this is to say, this is the reason why I had this scrap sitting in my stash when I am not a drinker, and it says things like mixology and drink about it, let me drink about it, and great minds drink alike. Not my bag at all. Oh, keep making that pun, don't I? I think I said that last time. So this is actually in my garage sale pile because I'm not even going to try and sell it at the market. That's why I had to hunt around for it. But the pouch came out cute. Another continuous zipper pouch where you've just got the zipper pull at this end, and then it's all half of a zipper used to make the top. Put a little doohickey on it so it can clip to something. Super quick and easy to make. So that is going into the market pile. Boom. That was a bad throw. I always say I throw like a girl, just considering I am female. That makes sense, but it also is a little bit sexist because there's a lot of women who can throw things and actually get them where they need to get them, right? It's just me. Okay, the other thing I sewed, let's move on. The other thing I sewed is something, again, that went crazy on Denim Upcyclers group on Facebook. I'll show you the empty ones first because the fourth one, has something very heavy in it. When I go to the market, which starts this weekend, the outdoor market, and I'm planning to be there every Sunday this summer, unless I don't sell anything and get all discouraged and decide it's not worth it, I need to have weights on each corner of my tent. I've got one of those nice market tents, which is just a big metal frame and then a nice roof to keep my rain off because, you know, I don't want to get the stuff wet. I haven't decided whether to get something for the back and sides yet because obviously rain doesn't always fall straight down, does it? Sometimes it blows in. Not sure what I'm going to do about that yet, and I really should think about it. So I went to Home Depot and I bought 4 cinder blocks. And I'll show you what I mean by a cinder block if you don't know what it is in a minute. They're very heavy, which is good because I'm supposed to have 20 pounds on each corner. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to be loading this thing into my car, taking it out of my car. It could scratch up not only my hands and my nails, but my car in, you know, the inside of my car. And of course, I decided that I needed special bags for them. So here they are, special bags for cinder blocks. Now I did a shorts for this, so you may have already seen this. But it's a really, really basic tote. Double stitched all the seams, so hopefully it will hold up. Handles that are just folded the usual way. So 4 layers on the handles, just folded in and in like a bias binding fold, basically. No lining. It's purely utilitarian. So each bag took a pair of jeans legs. So I picked the ones that were my least favorite ones, I guess, out of my stash. And the first one was a little slower because I had to do the math, obviously. And then the next 3 just zoomed along really easily. So it didn't have to look good. They just had to be strong. I triple stitched the handles in on their first seam because they're tucked in underneath here. And then I folded them back on themselves. And when I did that second round of stitching, I triple stitched them again. So hoping they're going to hold and I'm not going to bust stitches on my very first market. So I made 3. That's the second one. That's the third one. This is kind of thin. It doesn't really feel like a denim to me. It's more like a suiting and it's got some stretch. But I'm hoping it'll do the job. As long as the fabric doesn't rip, we should be fine. Okay, I'm going to pick up the heavy thing now. This will be good for my arms, won't it? Like I haven't done enough exercise today. Okay. Oh. All right. So here's the one with the brick in it. Let's see if I can show it to you without killing myself. So here's the cinder block. And I can either, if it's not too much of a windy day, I could probably just tie the tent ropes on each corner to the handles of each of the bags. If it's a really windy day and I feel like the handles might not cope with it, I can always tie the rope down through the center and around that middle section. But I'm pretty sure those are heavy enough to hold down my tent. Whew. Okay, that's all the sewing. I keep telling myself it's on my to-do list to make another denim hobo bag. Haven't done it yet. So apart from that, there's just been a ton of crochet. No knitting this week. I was adding to the pile of daisy flower charity squares. And I think I have 19 of them now. And I laid them all out and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I really don't. I still have some of the correct colour of yarn left to do more. And a little bit of pinky coloured stuff to go in the middle for the petals. But I feel like putting this aside, or I did put it aside for a couple of days, but I'm either going to let this languish or I'm going to join them all up and make a baby blanket or something because, yeah. I did see an awesome sweater made with this pattern, this block on Ravelry, but she had made all the blocks the same and it looked amazing. But these are not all the same and I just don't think I'll wear it if I make a sweater out of this. That was the original plan because I'm weird like that. So that's that. But I'm very pleased to say that the DK yarn stash has shrunk considerably. That massive bag that was absolutely full not long ago. Not only did I make these squares, but I've also made a couple of other things. On my last vlog, you'll have seen this bag, which is a massive crochet scrap bag. And it's quite floppy. I'm not sure how many strands of yarn I used for this. Oh, I put crab stitch around the top. That's kind of cool. Just trying to figure out how many strands of yarn I crocheted with. My Ravelry page said I used a 7mm hook with this, so I think that was 4 strands of yarn held together. And I started with an oval base, you know, where you make a chain and then you work along the chain and then you work back along the other side of the chain and then you just go round and round and round. And I love it. It's kind of squishy and floppy though. It doesn't really hold itself up particularly well. But it works great for holding yarn or fabric scraps, apparently. And not long ago, I was on Ravelry, as I am every day, and one of the people in the Crochet on Ravelry group was showing off their scrap baskets. Looked a lot like this. And they used a pattern, so I went and had a look for the pattern, and I did not check before I got on here whose design it was. But she basically made it exactly how I'd have made it if I hadn't looked at a pattern. You just start with a single crochet in a magic ring and just build it out until it's the diameter you want. Then you start going straight with no increasing. You put a couple of handles in by skipping 9 stitches and making a 9-stitch chain, and then you carry on going around and work back into it as you go around. It's super easy, and I will link to the pattern in the description, of course. So I just love how these things just burn through the stash. I am a little bored with some of my stash, and I feel like if I can get it down to a certain level, I can treat myself to some different yarn. Although I think I would buy it with a plan rather than just buying it next time. Probably a good idea, right? So I made this basket first. I'm getting fluff up my nose. Honestly, if I've got bits of debris in my hair, it's because of the gardening earlier. I had to wash bits of black stuff off my face earlier too. And you probably don't need to know this, but when I take my bra off later, there'll probably be bits of twig and stuff coming out of that as well. I was standing near the chipper shredder and helping Mr. Stitches load some stuff in earlier. And we were both wearing just our regular prescription glasses because you have to protect your eyes because stuff was flying everywhere. And so I know I got bits all over me at the time. And yeah, the joys of gardening. I digress. I started with my ugliest yarn, which I consider to be that green and yellow. I used 5 strands for this and a 9mm hook. And so there's green, teal and yellow and grey, I think, in that first part. So all you do is you grab 5 or however many strands you want and a big hook to make a fairly tight gauge. There's a limit to how tight I can crochet without it really hurting. So I made it so that it would at least stand up on its own. And so all you do is you use up your scraps. And so if you run out of one thing, you just tie another one on. And so if you get the colors changing one at a time, you don't get any hard color changes, and it just sort of graduates like a fade. It's really cool. Now, this yellow base is a little bit overly contrasting to the next section, but can't be helped. Now, after that, the colors change up through here. Gradually, they change and change and change until eventually we got to here. And I did it by crocheting a 12-inch circle and then going to, I think, about 8 inches tall and then doing the handle section. At first I was thinking I might put it on or under a flower pot I have upstairs. I have a lovely ficus tree with a pot that looks kind of messy. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll make it for that. And then when it was finished, I thought, I don't know if I want to use it as a plant pot. And when I said to my husband about it, he said, oh, but then it'll get messy and it might get wet. And I said, it doesn't matter if it gets wet. I can throw it in the machine and wash and dry it really easily because it's all acrylic. So I haven't decided whether to put my ficus in there or to maybe pop it up on my shelf up there to hold stuff. If I thought about it ahead of time, I could have measured my cubbies up there and I could have made baskets to fit in perfectly, couldn't I? I kind of like the way the yarn looks when you can see it displayed though, so I don't know if I want to hide it. This one I got done in a day. I was so motivated and so excited about it that I got it done in a day, got a picture of it and put it up on the Crochet on Ravelry group, said, look, I made one. And I wasn't the only person making one too. Somebody else got all inspired by this other lady as well. So it's like a mini unofficial make-along going on right now. Then I had to start another one. Now this one I thought I had done to the same size, but it actually came out a bit bigger. I can fit the other one into it with no, you know what I mean. It fits neatly inside without sort of buckling up. And I love this one even more because the colors of it are just beautiful. This one started out with some teals and some what looks like some purples and some green, a little bit of the ugly green I wanted to get finished up. So that's awesome. And there's some few browns in there and I think a bit of grey. At least one of the cakes was lime brown mandala, so that changed anyway. And other things I just knotted on as I got to them. So that's the second one. And even though they hurt my wrist, I want to make another one now. I feel like I should probably sew those daisy squares together first, or crochet them together. Maybe put a little border on them and then see how much I have left. I forgot to weigh this one. This first one took about 368 grams of yarn. So this one, I have a feeling probably a little more. Really, really like the colours in that one. So that one is definitely not getting put under a plant pot. And really, there's not much left in there. I have a little bit of blue, a little bit of a peachy colour, which is pretty horrible, a little bit of turquoise. I have one untouched cake of Lion Brand mandala. It's looking a bit fuzzy now. It's lived at my house for a long time. The colour is Sphinx. I love this colourway. The sort of cinnamon brown and turquoise combination. It's just really appealing to me. And I should probably save that one because it is intact and it looks really nice, crocheted or knitted up. So rather than just throwing it into a basket and hiding it, I probably should use it on its own. But I do have an absolute stack of cottons I could use for one. The only downside to cotton is that there's less stretch than the acrylic, and it could be more work to crochet a cotton basket. I'll get that out in a minute. We can take a look. So I don't know if you remember, if you were watching back in January and February when I was accompanying Mr. Stitches to his appointments at the cancer centre, I was making little things. In fact, they're up here. I've got some little characters that I made. Can you see them? I don't know if you can see them. I had a pencil case that I had sewn and I threw in a hook and some tiny balls of yarn so that I keep my hands busy when I was waiting for him. And I just made a little ice cream cone and a toadstool and I'm not sure, marshmallow. And then this little weird thing, no idea what he is. And I just made them on the hook, like I designed them on the hook because I didn't know what they were going to be until they were. I would just start crocheting something and then see how they turned out. So this is the latest little thing. I got the pencil case out from under my coffee table the other day and I realized there was one that was nearly finished. So I took the little crochet kit to the tea shop with me and I finished his little body and added some features and a little beret. So this little character can go up here with the others. Oops, knocking my dress form over, whoopsie. Let's just have a look at the cottons. I have quite the collection of Barocco modern cotton up in this cubby up here, but I'm not going to use that for a crochet basket because it's too nice. But I do have a lot of other things in here. I have some, I think that's bamboo pop, and I have a whole lot of Scapious Soft Fun in these little mini skeins that I gave myself a couple of years ago as a homemade advent calendar. So I have lots of little tiny bits of this stuff in all these beautiful colours. Now, I'm not saying I would use that for a basket either, because I really think I should come up with a really fun, colourful project for those that really shows them off. But this basket, another crocheted basket, are you surprised? I have one of these Wool Warehouse organza bags full of various cottons, and a lot of these came from the dollar store, actually. Have you ever seen those dollar store packs where they come with all these little tiny skeins? They usually have them packed in, say, a pack of 6 or something, and I'm not sure, is it 10 grams each or something? Yeah, 10 grams each. And there's usually a different color packs, and they're, $1.25 or something. And so I have a whole bunch of these little tiny things in here. I bought a number of different packs, so I've got different colors, loads of them. I went to my local yarn shop a few years ago, and I ended up buying some yarn just because I wanted to buy something. I ended up buying some of this Drops Muscat. And so I have, I think, 4 shades of blue in this. That's in there. There's 3 of them. And then there's a little bit of other things. I think that might be Knit Picks Cotlin or something. Oh, I have a little bit of Paint Box Yarns Cotton DK. I think that was from a blog prize I got from the Cozy Cottage Crochet once. I had a few balls of that. I can't remember what colours I got, but that was nice to try. Paint Box Yarns, I think is that Love Crafts or something? I don't know. I've never ordered from there. So yeah, all of these fun cotton colours. I also have quite the collection underneath of dishcloth cotton. I'm going to have to stand up to show you this. So this bottom of this basket has dishcloth cotton in. It's clearance stuff from the store I used to work at. They were discounted to $2.70 those, so it was worth buying them. And then they also had these ones, which were called just dishcloth, and they were like a scrubby polyester. And those were on clearance for $3.30. And so I've made a lot of dishcloths. I don't have one semi-made in here. But I made a real large amount of dishcloths that had the scrubby part in the middle, 2 layers. So I made 2 circles of the scrubby part, and then I got the coordinating cotton and double crochet for a few rounds around the outside. So you have a dishcloth that's a bit scrubby and a bit moppy-uppy, totally a word, and they are so practical. I love them so much. I've used them so much that some of them are starting to wear out now. Oh, and this is some cotton that I dyed myself, I think, out of... Ooh, was that RIT? That was probably RIT dye. I've got 4 of those. So that's my dishcloth collection in there. And this is my random little balls of cotton collection that will eventually get used for something. You know, it's funny, isn't it? I sit here and I switch on the camera and I start talking, and then I talk about everything that's on my list, and I think, oh well, that was only 10 minutes. What else can I talk about? And then I look at the countdown thing on the camera screen, the phone screen, and I've been talking for 36 minutes. I guess you've got to be able to talk at length to be a blogger, don't you, really? Wouldn't be much point blogging if you couldn't talk. So I think that's all I had to say today, except for thank you so much for all your like clicks and comments. I have been so lucky to have you guys following my vlog because you're all so nice and so supportive. And some of your comments just make me laugh out loud. Jerry, I'm looking at you. And yeah, it's just been amazing. So I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you for watching and for being so nice. So it's very encouraging and makes you want to keep on doing it because I'm having fun. And if I know other people are having fun, then win-win. I'll be saying goodbye for this time. Thank you for your support and thank you for watching. And in case you didn't know, new season of Outlander is out on Netflix. You might want to watch that if you're following it. If you're not following it, go read all the books. There's like 9 of them out now and they're still not done. Diana Gabaldon is still writing them. Get all the books read and then watch the Netflix series. Because the TV series is never as good as the books, is it? I don't think so. You miss a lot by not reading the books. Like the Harry Potter series, you really had to read the books to appreciate all the nuance of everything. It was just amazing. That was my little postscript. So I'll say goodbye for now and have a wonderful week.